Gotta light the sage for you church folk. So it's Dawn, the self-esteem queen, once again. And you know, initially only 7 people asked for my opinion. 7. And I don't know who all the other ones of you are who are watching me, but welcome to my world. Let me just do a little housekeeping and say that while I respect everybody's opinions, I'm not just some blogger who reviews TV shows. So I would appreciate it if you could keep your opinions to yourself. I am a minister, I am a servant leader, and I am an entrepreneur. And even though I'm a minister, I bark back. Please don't disrespect other people who have a difference of opinion with you. We're adults, and we can all learn to agree to disagree respectfully. Okay. So let me say first of all that I love this episode, and let me say also that I was so touched that I cried during this episode, and I really, really love what is happening right now. Based upon some of the responses that I got for the first video, it seems that some of you may either go to these churches, you may be a stand for these specific pastors, but listen, an opinion based on the editing of an unreality of reality TV show is what I'm giving here. And I'm not giving an opinion on any one of them. I actually love them all, right? I may not agree with what they're doing, but if they're reaching someone, they may not be the person for me. They may not be the one to reach me, but if they're reaching somebody, that's what matters. I'm not the minister for everybody. The people that I reach, those are the ones that matter. With that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so it starts with Dietrich being in the studio, and he's in there with his fiance Dominique, and they're basically talking about what happened in the man cave. And he basically was telling her what happened, his point of view. And you know, she's basically telling him, you know, when you guys do have a conversation, be humble. What that leads me to believe is that there are instances in which maybe his difference of opinion with other people is taken the wrong way by him. Maybe that's something that he needs to work on. But it does seem that he is a bit defensive when people have a right to a difference of opinions. And so people that don't agree with the way that, you know, he sees church or honorariums or pastors or whatever, that doesn't mean that, you know, people have to get up and walk out and, you know, whatever. So I can see his point of view, but I can also see her point of view because she knows him better, and she knows that he probably overreacts at certain situations, like Gangsta Gibson. And I know I should really call him Bishop Gibson. I will, but he's a gangster. Then it cuts to Bishop McClendon going to Noel Jones's house. And when he goes to Noel Jones's house, he's basically saying that he doesn't like when people challenge the way that he runs his ministry. Like, everybody has a right to run their ministry a different way. So I can see his point of view just the same way that I can see Dietrich's point of view. You know, everybody runs their ministry differently. And they're not in the same place in ministry either. You know, so because one has a writer that's different than the other, that doesn't make one more ego-driven or narcissistic than another. That's just me. And I say that because I'm a minister and I don't have like a brick and mortar church, right? The streets are my church. I rescued teen prostitutes for 10 years. There may be people who think that I did that in a very unorthodox way, but the girls that I rescued and the young men that I rescued, I guarantee you that they're grateful for the service that I gave. So while one person may say, well, you have to go through this system, I may say, well, this is the system that works for me, and I need these collaborative people with me in order to make that work. Then it cuts to Jay's church, and he's basically talking about there's an ex-member of his church. Her name is April. She turned pro. She was a pro skater, and then she disappeared, and then she called and said that she was going through a sex change, and now she calls herself David. And this is where, for me, the tears just started to flow. I thought it was important, and I loved how, Jay started to say she or he, because I work with the LGBT community through my nonprofit, I'm Gay Now What, and to hear the stories of people who were born sincerely in the wrong bodies, and to really understand that, to meet people and talk to them and understand that they've felt this way since like they could feel 3, 4, and to understand the scrutiny that they know they'll have to go through in order to be their happiest self while experiencing the misery from everybody around them. I felt the pain of David, because clearly when I saw David as April, I saw a boy. And maybe it's because I work with that community, but I definitely saw a boy. And so Jay is basically, talking about how he wants to show love, but he also wants to adhere to what God wants. And so in the end, he's really just here to show love and let David know that he's here for him. So then it cuts back to Noel Jones. I love seeing him in action. But anyway, his travel schedule is so intense, and it basically shows, before he goes to his church to preach, he has like all these exercises that, his body does. And I totally understand that, because when you're under the Spirit and you're actually ministering to people, you're you, but you're not you. And it takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot of energy to deliver that sort of message to people, where you cry, where you stand up, where you shout, where you catch the Holy Ghost. It takes a lot for one person to give that to you, and you're allowing God to come into your body and then exit you. That's like Ghost. And I know the experience, so I totally understand. Then he's talking to his driver and bodyguard, talking about how he's been doing this since he was 19, so he's been doing this for 40 years, and now he doesn't have time for a love life. So the bodyguard / driver asks him, what about Loretta? She, seems to, be there. And he says he doesn't have time for a woman. You find out that, he and Loretta co-own a restaurant together called JJ's Bistro. So, he must see something in her. He must see something in her. She's a gorgeous woman, and she definitely knows how to bark back at him. So I love that, she can be herself around him, which is probably what he needs, seeing as though the first episode he said that, he has kind of like that, he's treated sort of like a rock star, and how people sort of throw themselves at him. And so he said he's constantly pulled, preaching around the world, and so it's hard for him to have a relationship. She says their relationship is hard to define. Per Loretta, if a friend was 0 and a relationship was 10, she's a 30. I hear you, girl. Then it cuts to Jay, who, to me, seems the most genuine and non-scripted so far. That's just my opinion. When he's with his family, like, his daughter doesn't look like she's playing it down. His wife doesn't look like she's playing it up. Like, I really feel like that family is genuine. And so basically, he comes home and he tells his daughter and his wife about David, the whole situation. And his wife basically says, well, we're basically here to make her comfortable, and the only way that we'll gain leverage for her is to let her know that she's welcome and that she's accepted. I love that. So, of course, I said the first episode that I love them, and I love him, and I will probably go visit his church because I just really love him. And then it cuts back, and Bishop Gibson, he's talking to his wife about the dinner they're going to have with Dietrich and Dominique. And he's basically saying that he wants to make sure that Dietrich is not getting married because of reputation, which I thought was really important, seeing as though he continuously talks about how these other people feel. And, as far as I'm concerned, I said last time, you've already got her, you guys already have a daughter. You guys should already live together already. Like, I understand, right? that you want to stop to stop the pain that other people feel. But I don't believe that you in turn are supposed to feel pain when you've already committed adultery, if you were already married to the other person and you've already had your daughter. You guys are already a family. I agree with you, Dietrich. I think you guys should already be living together. You shouldn't, all this, this facade thing that you're keeping up for the sake of how other people will feel, crazy to me. As a minister, that's crazy to me. I wouldn't do it. I would not do it. Okay, so he just wants to make sure that Dietrich is getting married for the right reason. And so he's talking to his wife about that. And basically, I love his relationship with his wife, who's his high school sweetheart. He's basically talking about, how he wants them to be on one accord. You know what I'm saying? Because if she kicks him under the table, he's gonna say, "Ouch." You feel me? I love this guy, Gangster Gibson. That's what I call him. Okay. Then it cuts to Dietrich. He's at Dominique's house, or her mom's house, and I love how the mom is like real. You know what I'm saying? Because you could tell that she has a hard exterior, but she basically is telling, she tells Dietrich, if you ain't gonna treat her right, don't marry her. And she like schools him basically, like, you know what I'm saying? I told you that her dad's not here, so I have to be both. And I feel her because my kids have a donor, and so I'm not mommy and daddy, but they only have one parent, so they only have one person who can look out for their well-being. Totally understood. And then I love their relationship also because it shows that the mom was cursing and stuff, and I like how she can keep it real. I think that people have this thought, right, that pastors are supposed to be this specific type of way, and at the end of the day, church is a business and pastors are still flesh humans. Back to Jay, and it's his meeting with David, who again, like I say, clearly was born in the wrong body. And I love how Jay is more concerned about his spiritual condition. You know what I'm saying? About David's spiritual condition. I cried during this part like a baby. I mean, when I say I cried, I just sat there and cried. And it's like, you can really, when that happens, that someone is anointed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been to the City of Refuge. I know Noel Jones is anointed. Now, whether he's a womanizer, or whether he likes to date, or whether he doesn't feel he has time for a relationship, or whether he wants to be in one that's undefined, I don't know. I don't really care. Because the hearts that he touches, I know that he's a man of God. And I know that when he's under the anointing, he's a man of God. So, I'm concerned with that one thing. Are you reaching people? Are you teaching people? Are you telling them to then go out and reach and teach people? Is that what you're doing? Or are you more concerned about how other people are feeling about you? That is the question. Then it cuts to Noel Jones, and he is having his family over to his house for dinner, and his brother Randy. I love how, again, another family that can keep it real around a pastor. His brother is basically talking about how he should have been a pastor because he sees how Noel Jones loves to move the crowd and entertain the crowd. And so, that comment made me feel like he feels his brother sort of is. So then it goes back to Dietrich. He's at Wolfgang's, and this is where he has dinner with Bishop Gibson and his wife and Dominique. And I loved it because there were some tense moments in that dinner. I'm not going to go through the whole dinner, but there were some tense moments in that dinner. But then in the end, it turned out that Dietrich is going to take Bishop Gibson up on his invitation. He basically said that he wants to be like a marriage mentor to Dietrich and Dominique. And I thought that was great because, he married his high school sweetheart. When they had this conversation, she basically said, when I met him, he was, hood, rough, whatever. And she saw something else. And, he was warm and, he was hood, but he had a heart. And so I'm sure that in all the years that they've been married, she's seen a lot. And I don't think she'd still be around if he was about that jive. Like, I think that, you know what I'm saying, he's a gangster for God, and I love it. Basically says that marriage is not 50-50, it's 100-100. And so a shaky engagement is indicative of a shaky marriage. And so, you know, they have this conversation, and again, I just love it. Now, here is what I didn't love. Dietrich, brother, when people are giving you a critique, you don't always have to be defensive. Sometimes you can just breathe and let people talk, and then you don't have to be defensive when you speak back, especially when you know that people are speaking in love. Like, during this period, you know, he gets offended and he starts talking about, I have a doctorate from the Bible College of Divinity. Like, dude, other pastors, ministers, bishops, whatever, they don't care about all that, man. They, you know, I could tell that Bishop Gibson was really concerned, you know, about what was going on. And he did ask, were they shacking up? And, you know, they're not. And, you know, I'm totally against that. I think they should be. I don't think that, you know, that even matters. And the fact that Dietrich argued it and said, you know, shacking up ain't in the Bible. Where does it say shacking up? It doesn't say shacking up. I mean, you yourself answered your own question, i.e., y'all should be living together and she shouldn't be staying with her mama. Just saying. Okay. So then Bishop Gibson went on to say that he's in marriage counseling himself right now. And, you know, he likes to keep, you know, his marriage intact. And, of course, he had another gangster Gibsonism. He said, you're not letting your setback cause you to sit back because you ready for your comeback. Dude, Bishop Gibson, hey, man, I love you, dude. I really, really love you, dude. Just from Compton to Watts, cuts to Noel Jones, and it looks like he's trying to teach Loretta how to play chess. And so I loved it because he basically doesn't really want to talk about relationships, and she's trying to talk about relationships, and he doesn't want to talk about relationships. And I'm not going to talk about the whole conversation, but I love to see their interaction because she's such a strong woman. I think a man like him kind of needs a woman like that, but she's such a strong woman, and she has such a strong personality that I really think that those two together could definitely be a force to be reckoned with. I think that they seem to have a good time together. We already see that they own a business together. So, you know, I don't know what the holdup is. He's already been married once. She may have a phobia. Who knows? I don't know. But all I know is they look cute together. So that's my opinion. Goes back to Dietrich and Dominique, and he doesn't want to leave his family. He had just taken her on a date, and he believes that people can shack but not fornicate, even though he already fornicated and thus now has a daughter with his fiance before they're ever married. I believe that, you know, you should just go all the way, bro. Like, shacking is not in the Bible. You said it. You talked about it. So live together already. But he basically said, you know, he's tired of doing this. You know, kiss his baby goodnight, so on and so forth. He loves her. And, you know, you could just see the frustration, man. I felt it for him. Like, you could just see the frustration. And that was the whole episode. So I look forward to next week. I thank you guys for sticking with me another week. But I welcome some of you guys that, you know, have comments about specific pastors or this or that. Like, listen, aside from whatever is on this show, right, I'm not on the Nigga News Network looking to see what they're talking about in regards to these different pastors. Now, I had heard from somebody within a church community about Noel Jones and, you know, being with this person and that person, having a kid with that person. But other than that, like, I'm not searching for whatever is happening outside of this TV show. So can you keep your comments to what's going on within the show? Okay, if they got married at the end, thank you for letting me know. 7 people asked me to critique this show. All you other people, shh.